Welcome to Albemarle's 4th Annual Sustainability Day. My name is Meredith Bandy, and I'm the Vice President of Investor Relations and Corporate Sustainability here at Albemarle. Today, we have 4 separate segments to walk you through. First, we're going to hear from Kent Masters, our CEO. He's going to walk us through sustainability and how it relates to our strategy, purpose, and values. Then I'll walk you through some of the key highlights from this year's report. We'll hear from Energy Storage about our sustainability partnerships. And finally, we'll talk with members of our executive leadership team about how we're working to build more sustainable operations today and into the future. Before we begin, some of the statements we make today may constitute forward-looking statements. Please see the safe harbor language shown here and in the materials accompanying this webcast. And now, let's go to my discussion with Kent Masters on sustainability and our strategy. Well, Kent and I are going to walk through a little bit about our strategy and how that relates to sustainability. So maybe just to kick us off, Kent, you could walk us through what is our purpose as a corporation and how does that impact us at Albemarle?
Okay, so our purpose is to create a more resilient world, and that is us playing our role in bringing sustainability to the world, bringing it to the products we have and our customers. And it's not just about saying sustainability, that's a piece of that, but a lot of our products are targeted toward clean energy, clean markets, electrification, and it's us helping create that and us playing our role in that aspect.
Yeah, and then another thing that's very important to us as a company, but I think a lot of our employees and teammates, are the corporate values. Can you talk a little bit about the core values and what they mean to you?
Yeah, so our core values, I think it is important to the organization. It really is the way we express our culture across the organization. And we've had them for some time. We adjusted them last year. We added accountability. It felt like that was something that was missing. Allows us to focus on delivering results and make sure we're accountable around sustainability, but not just sustainability, about delivering results and doing what we say. And it's fit in nicely, and it helps us build that culture of being a responsible organization but delivering results.
That's great. And then if we look, so purpose and values are kind of that baseline, that bottom foundation for us. And then looking out, what about the critical impact areas? What do they mean for Albemarle?
So the critical impact areas, so that's how we describe them. Those are really the markets that we serve. So mobility, energy, connectivity, and health are the critical impact areas. It's really the markets that we serve, and it fits into that aspect. We talked about resiliency, about how that is changing the world. It's a feature about modern living and the role that we play in that.
And it's really exciting to see what the company can do in those areas. That's great. When I'm talking to investors or also just other external stakeholders, I think Albemarle is widely seen as a leader in this industry. But talk a little bit about what our competitive advantages are that help us to be a leader in such a dynamic market.
I think the competitive advantages for us, they start with our resources. So we have world-class resources, and whether that's bromine or lithium, and it is that we have scale. We have multiple resources in every market in different geographies. So it's diverse, it's at scale, and they're high quality and low cost. So it's really the foundation. And then we try and leverage those resources with process chemistry to create new products. We innovate around that. And so I would say process chemistry, our knowledge around that, and then the world-class resources that we have access to are two of the big strengths we have as an organization.
And that gives us a lot of really great insight into our customers and their needs, I think, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then one of the things that we rolled out a few years ago now that I think has really been a cornerstone of your role as a CEO has been the operating model, which we call the Albemarle Way of Excellence. So talk us through, what is the operating model? What does that do for us?
Yeah, so the operating model is really how we link our strategy to execution. So there's a number of elements in the model, but it really is about taking the overall strategy and aligning execution kind of on a daily, quarterly, annual, even multi-year basis, but how we are executing against that and how we translate strategy into execution on a regular basis. And as you know, sustainability is one of the key elements of that. So our overall approach, sustainability is built into the strategy, and then it aligns into how we execute everything else as well.
Perfect. And I think we're going to be, Internally, we'll be reporting more on those KPIs, but also externally as well, I think.
Yeah, so our strategic framework, so that's something new that we put in this year, and that really is the next level. So it allows us to take the strategy and that execution and then align that further through the organization with metrics, KPIs that we monitor internally and we'll report on externally as well. And it is the same. It's all aligned through, and we'll report on a subset of that externally. It'll be the things that we talk about in earnings calls about our goals, and then we'll talk about how we have executed against those targets as we move forward.
And that framework sort of brings it all together, from that purpose and the core values all the way through the execution.
Yeah, so it's everything. We call it a strategy on the slide. So it has everything. It starts from the purpose, goes through values, the operating model, and it gets us down to KPIs that we monitor and report on.
That's great. Thanks so much for walking us through that. Any closing remarks you want to leave with everybody?
No, I think, look, we're happy to be here at our 4th Sustainability Day. It's important. I think we talked about how it's relevant to our strategy, and it's a key part of the culture of the organization and our strategy and how we talk to customers. So we're proud to report on it. We're happy to have that built into our strategy, and we're excited to hear the rest of the stuff that we're going to share today.
Thanks so much for your time. It's great talking with you.
All right. Thank you.
As you just heard from Kent, as a purpose-driven, values-led organization, sustainability is core to everything we do at Albemarle. And I'm very pleased to share this year's report with you and some of the key highlights, which include a new materiality assessment. This is our first double materiality assessment. We'll also look at our DEI strategy and how that's evolving both in the US and abroad. We'll share the continued progress we're making on our environmental targets, and also how we're continuing to expand our LCAs, or life cycle assessments, across our product groups. So first, looking at our materiality assessment. This is the first major materiality assessment we've done since 2019. And this year, because it's a double materiality assessment, we're looking at both how Albemarle affects the world around us and how the world around us affects Albemarle. This is also going to help us prepare for some of the upcoming regulations we have. For example, the EU's CSRD, or Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Some of the highlights you'll see in our sustainability framework as that continues to evolve. So first, in the environmental category, you'll see that we've added focus on climate, pollution management, and circularity. Next, on the social area, we've added focus on human rights. And now the talent and culture area also includes DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion. On governance, we're narrowing our focus to responsible sourcing versus value chain excellence previously. And we're broadening our focus on innovation beyond product and process innovation, but also sustainability innovation around recycling or advanced energy storage materials, for example. I'll also note that the new framework excludes resource stewardship and business and financial resilience, both of which are very important topics, but are well covered in our financial reporting. Albemarle is an equal opportunity employer, and we're committed to building a culture of engagement and inclusiveness where we can meet the needs of all of our diverse employees and teammates. Current initiatives include, first, on workforce diversity, we're leveraging our engagement survey feedback to improve employee belonging. Second, in equitable compensation. Of course, we regularly evaluate pay equity across our organization, but now we've also begun to track internal mobility and development opportunities. Under inclusive workplace, we're leveraging our Vibrant Connect groups, which are our employee resource groups, to create opportunities for more intercultural understanding. Our intent is to develop a workforce that reflects the communities where we live and serve based on industry benchmarks, which you can see here at the bottom of the slide. We're also making progress on global gender diversity and U.S. racial diversity, all of which are up year over year. Now let's turn to environmental targets, beginning with freshwater. In 2022, Albemarle joined the UN Global Compact CEO Water Mandate, committing us to action and continuous improvement in terms of water management throughout our operations. Our public target focuses on countries with higher water risk, according to the World Resources Institute. That means for us, our target is to reduce the intensity of freshwater usage by 25% by 2030 in Chile and Jordan. And I'm pleased to report we're on track to meet this target. In 2023, our Chilean operations met their 2030 freshwater intensity reduction target, driven by continued optimization of the thermal evaporator at our La Negra facility in Antofagasta. JBC's freshwater intensity is up slightly from baseline, driven by product mix and underperforming third-party water recovery unit. However, as we start up the NEBO project, which is expected later this year, and we reestablish smooth operation of the water treatment unit, we expect to bring JBC's intensity in line with target. Sticking with environmental targets, let's turn now to greenhouse gas emissions. As a reminder, all of our targets are Scope 1 and Scope 2, and they're for a 2030 target with a 2019 baseline. In general, the way we plan to meet our 2030 targets is through a combination of increased renewable electricity across all of our operations and also efficiency improvements in our plants. First, on energy storage, our target is to grow that business in a carbon intensity neutral manner. This is an ambitious goal for two reasons. First, because of the high growth of that business, and also because of shift towards more spodumene and lithium hydroxide, which is needed for higher energy density battery chemistries. And you can see here we're well on our way to meeting this goal. Turning to specialties, we have a goal to reduce the carbon intensity of our specialties business by 35%, also by 2030. This year, our lower production led to absolute emissions below target. However, our intensity did increase somewhat. To offset these changes, Magnolia is continuing to evaluate sources of zero carbon electricity. And in Jordan, our NEBO project will also help to reduce greenhouse gas intensity when it's fully operational in 2024. While our current targets for greenhouse gas are all Scope 1 and Scope 2, we are also looking at Scope 3. Like a lot of companies, Scope 3 is about 2/3 of our total greenhouse gas emissions. Most of that is in Category 1, raw materials. So therefore, this year, we met our target of engaging suppliers who make up about 75% of our raw materials carbon footprint. That engagement gives us better quality data and will let us set a target for Scope 3 in the future. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to engage with these suppliers and also increase our understanding of product carbon footprints for our suppliers and for us as we continue to incorporate that into our decarbonization roadmap for future target setting. We're also continuing to build out our product carbon footprints for our own operations, which we began a couple of years ago with our energy storage group and our two main products there, lithium hydroxide and lithium carbonate. And now we're bringing that over to the specialties side. In 2023, we completed our first in-house product carbon footprint study of our elemental bromine produced in Magnolia, Arkansas. This PCF was third-party verified as ISO compliant. You can see how our sustainability initiatives have improved the carbon footprint of bromine production compared to the 2019 baseline. There's an 11% reduction, primarily driven by low or no carbon electricity and efficiency improvements. We'll also use these PCFs to help us identify emissions hotspots and opportunities to decarbonize in the future. That would include things like supply chain partnerships to reduce Scope 3, and advanced technologies like carbon capture or green hydrogen. With that, those are some of the key highlights from this year's sustainability report. If you want more information on our sustainability report, please see the sustainability section of our website, albemarle.com. And now let's hear from members of our energy storage team about sustainability partnerships.
We have a world-class lithium resource right here in Kings Mountain. And this resource operated from the 40s to the early 90s, and we are looking to bring this site back online. The driving principle is, how do we create a modern, world-class mine here in Kings Mountain? And we're doing a great job in delivering on that commitment. Kings Mountain will play a critical role in providing security of supply for lithium. It's really important that the U.S. have access to these resources because of the importance of lithium, not only for electric vehicles, but for many, many other applications.
So in conventional mining operations, you always have to deal with non-ore bearing material. Your host rocks for your ore are always contained in stuff that you're not going to process. For example, in open pit mines, you end up having to mine through that non-lithium bearing material to get to the lithium bearing stuff, and you have to move it out of the way. And and then you have to find a place to put it. And in most mines worldwide, you end up having to build what are called storage facilities to effectively put that rock down and manage it in perpetuity.
When I think about the Martin Marietta Agreement, there's a myriad of positive sustainability benefits. Number one, the transportation of non-ore bearing material will be just across the property line. Reducing Martin Marietta's need to extract rock is going to have phenomenal benefits. And then traffic, that impact on community will reduce. And then finally, having a positive impact on the local community and leaving a positive legacy.
A royalty is going to be paid on every ton of this material that we take to Martin Marietta. Martin Marietta will pay that back to Albemarle, and that will go into a fund that is designed exclusively for the benefit of the Kings Mountain community.
We will dedicate the royalty to a foundation to support the Kings Mountain and the surrounding area. From once we begin producing that non-ore bearing material will go on, which will have a positive impact in the short and medium term, and certainly a positive legacy once our mine is closed and the community continues to reap the benefit from those royalties from Martin Marietta. I'm excited about when we get these permits, when we can actually begin construction, and really excited about when we can begin production and show how we can operate this mine responsibly and sustainably.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We're here today to talk about sustainable operations, and I'm joined by Netha Johnson, who's president of our Specialties Division, Eric Norris, who's president of Energy Storage, and Mark Mummert, who is the senior vice president of Capital Projects and Supply Chain. So hopefully you probably know Eric and Netha from previous calls. Mark, you might be a little bit new to our external audience. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your new role at Albemarle?
Yeah, sure, Meredith. I joined Albemarle 5 years ago, working with Eric in the energy storage business as Chief Operating Officer. Today, I sit here with 35 years of industry experience, primarily in specialty chemicals. I'm happy to take over a new role. The new role really brought together our capital projects organization along with our operations organization at a corporate level, our HSE, manufacturing excellence, and supply chain teams. And I'm excited really about what we're working on, particularly in the area of sustainability.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So before we jump in, maybe if we can just set the scene a little bit. And I'll start with you, Eric.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about how our products are important for the energy transition.
Sure. Well, it starts with lithium. Lithium is an essential element in electric vehicles, specifically in the battery itself, as the name lithium-ion battery implies. You can change a lot of things in a lithium-ion battery, a lot of metals that stabilize the lithium, but the lithium is the active ingredient. You cannot exchange that. And the value, apart from the energy that's giving, is it's driving zero emissions in the use phase of the car. Now, if you look at a larger life cycle of lithium, what's also important to note is that even in the production of lithium, which does consume some energy, for 1 ton of greenhouse gases that is emitted in the production of lithium, you're avoiding 65 tons of greenhouse gas emitted from the vehicle over its use phase by the use of that lithium molecule. So it's a very pivotal element in the energy transition.
Absolutely. And I think lithium is the one that we all naturally think of when we think of sustainability, but the specialty chemicals business is also driven by a lot of those same trends. Do you want to speak to that, Netha?
Yeah, we absolutely have a role to play in the energy transition. And the first is in the automotive sector. Brominated flame retardants are definitely required for vehicle electrical wiring and components. We also have a role to play in the charging infrastructure as well. Our products are also used in the manufacture of tires, which are now being redesigned to support the increased torque required and the rolling resistance needed to support EVs. And then there's also use of brominated flame retardants in electrical equipment, electronics, and combustible building materials that all require it for safety. So anything that also uses a circuit board is made much safer with our flame retardant technologies and processes. So manufacturers all around the world are really relying on us to support the energy transition.
That's great. Thank you so much. So we understand that we have a critical role to play in the energy transition, but we also understand that we have businesses where we need to manage our own environmental footprint. And I know all of you are working towards that in your roles. Maybe Eric, if you want to kick it off with some of the projects that are underway in energy storage.
Sure. Well, start first with water. Water is a critical sustainability focus for us, water intensity and its use, particularly in places that are very arid, like Chile, which is one of our largest sources of lithium. And what we've done there downstream is put in, with the most recent expansion of La Negra, we put in a thermal evaporator, which is reducing the water intensity as we expand that plant by 25% across the entire network. And so downstream, we're managing water, which is where we use fresh water. We're being very responsible about how we do that. Upstream at the Salar, we don't use too much water, but we do pump brine itself. And it's about efficiency of how we get the most for what we are pumping. And now we have a Salar yield project, which is increasing our yields to all-time highs for the industry and for ourselves in terms of getting the most lithium for every liter we pump. I could also comment about greenhouse gases. Mentioned earlier about the importance of greenhouse gases as part of the value proposition and what we're for lithium. And what we're doing is, in the case of our Chile operations and our Kings Mountain, is we're 100% renewable in terms of the electricity we consume. And in China, we're moving now to being 50% renewable, and our largest plant is Xinyu.
That's great. Thank you. What about on the specialty side? I mean, Jordan is another area where it's a very arid climate. What are some of the projects that are underway at Jordan?
Absolutely. Like the energy storage business, we're also looking at water conservation. Maybe a project I'd like to highlight, Meredith, is NEBO. For that, that's going to be operational for us in the last part of 2024, and that's expected to reduce freshwater usage by greater than 10% and also reduce energy intensity by greater than 5%. So we're very happy to talk about that project in terms of sustainability.
Yeah, one of the questions we get a lot is just, what is NEBO? What does that project do? How does it make those sustainability improvements?
Yeah, NEBO is an acronym for sodium evaporation and bromine optimization, hence the word NEBO. So what we do is we take a recycle stream and actually reuse that into saleable product. And that gives us advantages in terms of cost reductions, sustainability, and capacity of really using a waste stream in a new and innovative way.
Nice. That's a really cool project. Excited to see that come online. So that's a little bit about the current operations. What about as you're looking at new projects, Mark? What types of sustainability initiatives?
I think Eric and Netha talked about really the construction side of things. And so when we build things, we want to make sure we're safe, and safe is part of our value system through the value of care. And so safety is an important element there. And so having the right standards and having the right focus on that. We want our contractors and our employees to come to work and go home in the same conditions, so we want them to be safe. So that's an important element for us. And so having that standard set and really driving that is critical to us.
Thank you, Mark. And that sort of transitions from the environmental side over to the people side. So maybe, Mark, if you can continue on your side, on one of the things we're working on a lot is building a more responsible supply chain, and that your organization is core to that. What are the types of activities that are underway there?
Yeah, I think working very closely with our suppliers, with our partners, and having those partners really focused on sustainability and what we're trying to do. And so trying to build a diverse, reliable supply chain is important to us. And so we use the UN guiding principles on business and human rights to help drive that, to help guide us in that. And so screening for human rights, making sure that our suppliers are abiding by that criteria is critical to us. And if we need to, we make a change when it comes to that. We want to partner with our suppliers on environmental topics and really the best practices that they might have, so that we can leverage that within Albemarle. We do want to really move. We've spent a lot of time and energy on Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. Particularly within our existing network, but we want to continue to work, and we've started that journey with Scope 3 emissions with our suppliers, and so that focus is critical to us. I'd probably wrap up really with the last thing is we've developed a strategic partnership with EcoVadis to really help with strategy and really our playbook as we go forward on our journey with our suppliers.
Nice. And as you mentioned, Scope 3 is an important element for us. Like a lot of companies, Scope 3 is a big part of our emissions, and particularly Category 1. Do you think in the future we'll be able to have a Scope 3 target?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely on our agenda. I think we want to make sure that we've really got a good sound set of data first to start with, baseline data, and then we'll set those targets and be committed to that, just like we are in the other targets we have.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, so we talked a little bit about human rights in the supply chain. What about in the communities where we operate? How are we interacting with the communities? Maybe Eric, if you want to kick it off, and then we can go to Nefa.
Sure. Well, for us, it's pivotal, particularly in our mining operations. There, where it is the foundation of our license to operate. So I can go through examples of that in Western Australia, through our joint ventures, and also through some of the other investments we make in the country around our conversion sites, even places where we have accommodation villages. How we engage and support the Reconciliation Act of Western Australia with the Indigenous people as a key part of how we operate. Similarly, and perhaps the foundation of how we've done this for years is what we do in Chile. 3.5% of our revenues from the country of Chile are reinvested into the communities through a process while governed with strict governance principles they determine themselves. Right. And it goes into projects that include water, infrastructure, schools, hospitals, to support the communities in which we're operating. And then finally, and closer to home here in North Carolina, Kings Mountain. While there's some indigenous population here, what characterizes the Kings Mountain site and our license to operate is the community that's of Kings Mountain immediately surrounds it. And so what we've done is engage that community in environmental and social impact assessments. We have engagement visits. There's a lot of education that we provided. We've been fortunate to benefit from significant DOE funding of $150 million and DoD funding of $90 million for this project. And so from the government support to what we do to engage the communities, it's really important for us to earn that right to operate there.
Yeah, that's great. And I know similarly, there's a lot of activity in the communities with the specialties division as well. You want to speak to that, Nefa?
Yeah, absolutely, Meredith. We are absolutely committed to support the communities in which we work, live, and do business, and particularly those places where we make things. So maybe I'll highlight two examples. The first being JBC in the Safri area of Jordan. We award local youth scholarships to the youth of that community to make sure they have an opportunity to further their education and then be part of the new work-ready workforce that we are going to support as part of our community involvement. We also provided over 70 different water coolers, maybe in areas that have great refrigeration, to those schools so they can have opportunity to utilize those. And in Magnolia, we've donated a passenger van to the local Boys and Girls Club. Well, the biggest issue for that club is transportation, getting kids from school to the club, from the club to activities. So we wanted to step in there and provide a van to support that.
That's great. Thank you so much. All right, so switching gears a little bit, we talked a lot about sort of what's going on today, but maybe if we look to the future, there's also a lot of innovation happening in both of your businesses. Maybe Nefa, if you want to start with a couple of the innovations and specialties.
Yeah, maybe I'll just highlight three, with the first being MercLock, and that's our mercury remediation platform. We've won 3 industry awards since we've launched that, the first being from Business Intelligence Group for an Innovation Award, and 2 from the ACC. Product Safety Award and the R&D 100 Award, and we're very proud of that. And we're excited about the improvement to the environment we can do with that product. We also have worked with BSEF about the circular economy and done research about the recyclability of electronic equipment and plastics. And we've shown that through that research that we can effectively manage the recyclability process and safely integrate BFRs into the circular economy, which is the holy grail for plastics. And we've shown that 95% of the brominated flame retardants can actually be eliminated in these plastics by specialized firms. Maybe the last one I'll talk about is DLE. So we're in the final divestment and testing stages in Magnolia, and we expect to scale our DLE pilot plant in Magnolia at the end of this year. Again, that's just for the Smackover formation, but that's really designed to help accelerate some DLE technology learnings, build out maybe some intellectual property that we have around that, and de-risk the integrated systems design.
Great. I know that transitions well over to Eric. You have a lot of work on the DLE
Sure,
side too.
sure. There's a partnership we have between our two businesses around developing a platform for the company in direct lithium extraction, the know-how, the processes. And while the Smackover is one resource, the Salar de Atacama is another. And while we've been operating in the Salar de Atacama for many years through a solar evaporation process, there are two reasons why we're exploring direct lithium extraction. One is we can enhance our yields even further beyond what I earlier described, so that we're getting, for every liter we pump, even more lithium from that without pumping an additional liter at all over the lifetime of that resource. So the second benefit is that could potentially allow us to expand our quota with Corfo to produce even more lithium from that resource. So it's a key innovation that enables sustainability and growth. That's pretty important. Staying on the mining theme for a moment, there are two other things that are going on now in the hard rock side of our mining, most specifically in the Kings Mountain mine again. So first is Caterpillar. We have a strategic partnership with Caterpillar that makes us a customer of theirs, a partner of theirs, and a supplier of theirs. You're using lithium to electrify their fleets. We will be the first lithium mine with zero emissions because we're going to take advantage of that fleet as we develop that mine. And together we're working on innovative chemistries as well, research, which is a key pillar of our growth. The new products that are more energy dense. The Caterpillar relationship is one of several taking us in that direction. And then finally, also in Kings Mountain, one of the biggest challenges in developing a mine, particularly in an area that has some communities around it, what you do with the rock that is the waste rock, or the rock that is coming from the ground but it has no lithium in it, what do you do with it? We have the good fortune of being immediately adjacent to us is the Martin Marietta Quarry mine. They are going to now, we've entered an agreement where we will put that rock into that mine. They will use that as a source for gravel, and the royalties arrangement, the business arrangement between the two of us, is going to be invested into the communities. So it's a win-win-win all the way around for Martin Marietta, Albemarle, and the communities.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things coming up ahead. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Any closing remarks before we end?
Yeah, I think what I'd close with, Meredith, is we talk about our safety being a journey, and every day it's a journey to get better in safety. I think sustainability that same way, that sustainability is about us getting better every day, have a strategy of where we're going, have a target of what we want to, who we want to be and what we want to do. But ultimately it's about the journey and taking one step every day forward on it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our Sustainability Day. We're immensely proud of all the work the team has done in 2023 and now in 2024 to continue to advance our sustainability strategy. And I'm also pleased to say that work is gaining recognition. We recently received the EcoVadis Gold Medal, signifying that we're in the top 5% of companies worldwide in terms of sustainability performance. So what's next for Albemarle? It's great to celebrate these achievements, but we know we can't rest on our laurels. We'll continue to progress towards our 2030 targets and goals, and we'll also look for further opportunities to decarbonize. We'll strengthen our community engagement. We'll continue to share LCAs and product carbon footprints with our customers to build a more responsible supply chain, and we'll also embed sustainability in all that we do. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a safe day.